Russia invaded Ukraine on February 24, 2022 by Putin's command. Western sources say 120,000 Russian troops died, twice Ukraine's losses. Despite sanctions, Russia's economy grew 3.6% in 2023, outpacing US and EU. The EU has given Ukraine $143 billion in aid since the war began. The conflict drags on with no end in sight. Trump claims he has a precise plan to end the war. Putin will chair the next BRICS summit in Kazan, Russia this October. What if Vladimir Putin shocked the world by proposing to end the conflict? It'd offer him a graceful exit from this prolonged conflict and mark a historic moment for BRICS. Hello everyone. Welcome to this special report on the upcoming BRICS summit set to take place in Russia next month. Many observers now suggest the war in Ukraine might not reach its third year. Putin could announce the end of the Ukraine war at this event. His proposal to the UN, I believe, would benefit all parties involved, both within BRICS, for whom this war isn't advantageous, especially China and India, and the West, which finds itself at an impasse. We'll see this possibility holds up, even under scrutiny. As a reminder, Russia invaded Ukraine on February 24, 2022, just over 2.5 years ago, by order of Russian President Vladimir Putin. It's important to note that this invasion came 8 years after the start of the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, following Russia's annexation of Crimea and the outbreak of the Donbass War in spring 2014. There's a long history here. If we consider everything that's happened, we're looking at almost a decade of conflicts involving Russia. Regarding casualties, it's always a sensitive topic in any war. Getting accurate figures is challenging, with both official and unofficial numbers circulating. According to Western sources, as of early September 2024, about 120,000 Russian soldiers have been killed, double the number of Ukrainian casualties. These are the figures we have, and they mainly represent collateral losses. Beyond deaths, there are many amputees and similar injuries, which is sadly well known. We're talking about 500,000 men out of action, including amputees and other physical injuries. I'm not even mentioning psychological damage, which is harder to measure. But just counting what we can, 500,000 men out of combat. That's the impact this war has had, mainly on Ukrainians and Russians. After shrinking in 2022, Russia's GDP grew 3.6% in 2023 and may improve further in 2024. The US economy shows surprising strength, especially late 2023 with 3.3% annual growth, though 2.5% overall. It might impress us again in 2024. You'll see US figures far outpace Europe's. France ended 2023 with 0.9% growth, high for Europe. Remember, Germany fell into recession. 2024's numbers could be catastrophic for Germany, which along with Europe is the big economic loser in this situation. We've seen the war in Ukraine's impact on growth, particularly on GDP in Europe and the United States. It's worth looking at how much this costs us, especially the EU, as there have been three types of aid. These include financial, humanitarian, and military assistance. Since the war's start in February 2022, the EU has consistently supported Ukraine in these three areas. The various forms of aid total more than 143 billion euros. So Europe has invested, or rather swallowed up, a considerable amount in this conflict. Personally, there's one lead I take very seriously, and that's the one pointing to Donald Trump. Regarding the Ukraine war, Trump claims to have a very specific plan to end the conflict. While I doubt his love for Bitcoin, I'm confident in his ability to resolve the Ukraine conflict. It's important, but the core issue is coming sooner. It's happening in October. As you know, BRICS consists of 5 countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. That was the 2023 lineup, but since January 1st, 2024, we often talk about 10 countries. So indeed, there's Ethiopia, Egypt, the UAE, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. But for Saudi Arabia, it's not quite the case. They haven't officially accepted joining BRICS yet. Why? It's due to their position. Saudi Arabia now sells oil outside the dollar to India and China in yuan, but most of their oil is still sold in dollars today. So they're still tied down. I think over time they want to reduce their dollar dependence. But today they're still very dependent on the dollar and the US. So their wish would simply be, and it would go in this direction because Russia is inviting Saudi Arabia to the BRICS summit. And I think that it would make sense if at this summit, to ease Saudi Arabia's BRICS entry, Russia announced at the UN their intention to end the Ukraine conflict. A week ago, Turkey also applied to join the BRICS in the near future. Turkey's case is similar to Saudi Arabia's. Turkey's still an EU candidate, which is significant, and it's also a NATO member. So Turkey is also tied closely to Europe and the US, trying to balance both worlds, opening opportunities with BRICS without burning bridges with Europe and the US. Clearly, this forum could be a chance to officially welcome Turkey, which might smooth things over if such an announcement were made. So to conclude, I think if Putin made an announcement, it would suit everyone, both within BRICS, because we shouldn't forget that for China and India, this Ukraine conflict really doesn't help their interests. Externally, we're at an impasse. The West has no concrete solution to this conflict, so it'd suit them too. Similarly, Ukraine can't afford to refuse a peace plan deemed acceptable by the US and other world powers. So I think it would be huge in terms of messaging and geopolitics. It would be monumental for BRICS, as it would be their first major move in terms of global influence. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. It helps me a lot. Bye, everyone.